and I saw basically rows of tea trees at a lower elevation in this mountain area. I haven't seen really any tea trees here yet. This now looks like something that's Saimai tea tree. It's not really tea tree. I've encountered a few of like the wild species. I don't know exactly what this is, but as you can see, it's so cold it's not budding yet, even though some people claim they already start picking since the 20th, and we saw some tea gardens at the lower elevation in this mountain. We'll see. I'm gonna keep going up and to see if we're gonna get lucky and then really see some of the real high mountain foggy tea. That'd be really cool. This gotta be the coldest tea region I've ever been to. I know it's not a northernmost tea region, but see, it's because the elevation is really high. I don't know what the exact elevation now. I'm still going up, but half an hour later, I'm gonna reach to about 1,350 kilometers above sea level, which is pretty high. Now, you can still see the ice on the. This is not snow. It's the crystal ice on a pine tree that just been falling down. You can see it still keep falling down. The rustling noise that you're hearing is the ice falling down. It's so foggy. And by the way, the tea here, this is the real fog tea. I don't know if that's the translation people use in America. I know some people have been selling those teas, but this is the real deal. And it's indeed very, very foggy. But most tea regions are pretty foggy, but this is even more foggy than usual. Now this is Wulaofeng. For people who grew up with a Japanese cartoon called I don't know what it's called, but basically it's like a whole bunch of young boys that they are trying to. It's like the holy fighters, I guess, if that's the direct translation, and they're fighting the for the I don't know, they fight like the zodiac signs, and then they're trying to protect a goddess. Now this is where one of the main characters got where all of his skills from. Wu Lao Feng, the I don't know, the dragon one. I'm so silly. Never mind. So right now I'm at the highest peak of Wu Lao Feng. Now Wu Lao Feng basically means 5 old man's peak. This is a Lu Shan. They make a tea that's called the fog tea. Now this is the real fog tea. I hope you can tell it's really, really foggy. Ooh, 好大. It's very foggy here, and there's actually a service stop on top of here. And here they make, one of the historical teas. You rarely see them in the market right now, which happens a lot to some of the past famous teas. So I'm sampling some of the teas they have here. Given what the season and the look of the tea, I'm pretty sure it's not from here. Because it's actually, they just started picking tea in this region because it's so cold here. We saw some ice on our way here. The tea barely started budding. They've started picking a few days ago, and the leaves looks like it's been picked like I would say like 10 days into the tea season, so it's probably from a warmer region. This peak right here, the fourth peak, is the highest peak. It's about 1,350 kilometers above sea level, so it's quite high. Given how north this region is and a high peak, I would say this is one of the coldest tea regions I've ever been to, and I really look forward to have some of the real deal. And this is the highest peak of Wulaofeng. This scenery just amazing. I feel like I'm on a plane right now, except I'm not on a plane. I'm actually on solid ground. And one of the things I want to point out is in China, when you tour some of the famous mountains, you always see like some of the calligraphy words carved out into the stone, and I'm always wondering like, how did they get there? And these are all done like in the old times too. It's part of Chinese mountain culture. In case you do not know what that is, China, we have a very unique what they call the mountain cultures. Basically in the old times, for scholars to show that they're determined to be away from the material world, or to get in touch with nature, so they can strive for higher artistic ambitions, that they would go into the mountains. And so a lot of Chinese famous mountains have some of the artifacts left over by some of the well-known artists throughout Chinese history, the writers, and also the poets. They also have there's a thing that they go to these mountains and write poetries about these mountains. So every famous mountain have like tons of famous poetries about them as well. Now also the emperors sometimes will come here to show that they want to pray for the ooh, I can see city down there. That they want to come here to pray for the for good weather, if there's like a drought or a rainy season, to pray for the safety and prosperity for his people. It's like, it's just, yeah, to show that I'm a good emperor, that I care about my people, that I'm willing to go up to all these high mountains to do these things for my people. So it's very, very pretty. So a lot of these famous mountains, they have like stone ways that's carved out like from a long time ago. Look at this. It's so freaking pretty. It's like unreal. It's like on the plane, but I'm on solid ground, not on the plane. Seriously, I feel the urge to just like walk off right here. It's like I want to walk towards that mountaintop over there. It's so amazing, so amazing. It's all fog cliff right here. Oh my god. So right now I'm here at right below Xiaotianchi of Lu Shan. This area is a little lower than where we were yesterday in Laofeng, but still quite high. It's I get like conflicting numbers. Like people say it's about 800 to 1200 meters high. I don't know exactly. I need to double check. Because Xiaotianchi itself is pretty high, but this is below Xiaotianchi, right below it. Now this is considered one of the most desired locations for Lu Shan 云雾 the foggy tea here. 这边雾会大吗？
大的时候，那个手啊拿出来看不见。
哦，因为我记得昨天那个上面雾好大，这边还没有怎么看到。
这里雾大，特别大。
Because overall
这是庐山的一个百风口，那个稍微庐山一冰冻啊，这个地方比别的地方要冷。
要冷是吧？
啊，它那个风口特别大，而且那个结冰呢速度是相当快的。对。一般从这个上面，别的地方没结冰，这个地方就
已经结冰了。
它是一个百风口，一个口子，因为从这里一个线过来了，风比较大。
Yeah, I was told that the wind blows this way, so this area is actually colder than other areas. And in the Lu Shan fog tea is actually very interesting that people rate the tea by how much fog it actually receives. I was questioning. I was like, oh, it doesn't look like it's very foggy. Like yesterday, Wu Laofeng was so foggy, but she was saying no, it's just because the fog hasn't come yet. Usually it's pretty foggy. I know this location is one of the most desired locations. Now the tea over here, of course, buds very late. It's relatively north and it's quite high elevation. It's cold, so they didn't pick the old variety until April 5th versus a lot of other regions. April 5th is a major cutoff date already. And also I want to point out that just like all the other tea regions, over here we have the old varieties and we have the new varieties. But still dominated by old varieties. These are all old varieties. 对，你可以看一下这边都是老品种。All old varieties here. And very interestingly, the locals was telling me that the government actually, give people incentives to have people cut down the old variety and plant the new varieties. But for some reason, the old variety here actually gives better yield than the new varieties. So people secretly keep all the old varieties and plant less new variety than requirements just to satisfy the policy. It's very interesting because usually the old variety doesn't have the better yield than new variety. And the old variety always tastes better. However, over here, it actually the old variety looks ugly and it bud late. The new variety was picked earlier as well. And also I want to point out just how awesome I really love this view, if you cannot tell. Like, look at how much stone it has. Like tea loves stony areas. And I just really love it here. It's in the valley. It's foggy, so it receives indirect sunlight. Some of the best requirements for tea is it's more toward the north. It's cold. It's foggy. It's facing the sun, but not direct sunlight. Like it's spur sunlight. That's basically a very very good thing. It has lots of stone. It's high mountain. It's among other plants. It's the best. I hope you can tell that this patch is different from this patch. It's much whiter than this. You know what this is? The variety? This is anti-white tea. This is anti-white tea. Now, anti-white tea, I want to point out again, is actually it is a varietal. It's not a white tea. Usually when we talk about white tea, we're referring to the tea that's specifically processed to be white tea. This one is referring the white color of the raw tea leaves, and the anti-white tea is actually green tea. And so I hope you can tell, like, this is why we call it a white tea. It's a much lighter color than this. Darker green, lighter white. So that's the anti-white tea. 'Variety. It's pretty old already. And I'm thinking this is probably the tea I had yesterday at the bluff. Remember I was saying that in order for the tea to be this old and this season, it's definitely not from the higher elevation. So here on my hand I want to show you, this is the old variety, this is the new variety. The reason I knew yesterday in the videos, I was able to tell the batch of tea that they gave me first was actually from the bottom of the mountain. Is because it looks like this. Yeah, the leaf is much older. Because right now the season, the overripe just started budding, especially on top of the mountain. It really just hasn't even started budding yet. About like almost to the top, it's like budding like this. So that's why the size and everything is very telling. I don't know how else to explain to you, but if you look at the tea long enough, shape of tea, size of tea is very very telling. That's why most of the times when people bring the tea off, just one look, I kind of know like what quality it is. Now this is a batch of teas that's ready to be put in the wall. So behind the wall, there's somebody manning the log fire. There we go. And the best way is to have a chimney for the fire to actually go out. Of course, sometimes in a lot of farmers' houses, it's not see the chimney. So what happens is that it actually, so the tea will have a little bit of a smoky taste, which is not desired. But sometimes, because the limited facility, it cannot be avoided. The very beginning of stir frying the tea. As you can see, this is very similar to a lot of the green tea stir frying, where they want to make sure, basically trying to distribute it evenly along the wall. So the bottom of the wall, where the lowest point, that's always where the heat is the highest. So you want to make sure that you touch that point, but does not stay in that point for too long. And then you want to break up the tea to make sure the tea does not trap inside of the tea leaves. Very important to make sure all teas are on a move, so no tea is staying in one spot. That's when you actually will burn the tea. So be careful. I'm asking her compliment, and she's really good. She's saying that I will learn it one day. But now
摘了几下来，这香个大概摘了6、7下，然后就把它茶叶散开，让它走一下空气。
She's saying now I need to flip up the tea to make make sure it's so little tea and it's such a drying wok. It's really hard to make sure that my hand does not touch the wok. Trying to straighten the tea again. Just going to check the fire. I do feel like I'm getting better. I can feel like my tea become more and more uniform. 炒的还可以吧，没给炒坏吧？
弯了。
Oh, she's saying that it's not straightened enough. Oh. Right now it's still at the primary season of the tea. I do not want to.
这样就会黑的。
这样会黑的。She's saying that the color is gonna 要撒开。She's saying that I'm gonna trap the heat in the tea and this batch might become black.
这样抓一下。
Oh shit.
这样，它就白了。
白了。
啊，那样搞就会黑，茶叶就会黑的。这样搞。
She said you have to do it like this. That's when the tea will not turn black.
它这个茶叶靠white的这个体，我的体，你的体，然后教你，它不动了，那火有点大，
有点大。
表皮来。
So you can hear this tea is actually sizzling. She was saying the fire is a little too big, so now I cannot touch the tea because my skill is not that high.
这个一定要熟了手才能搓条子，才能把条。如果要是没熟手的话，你搓的那个茶叶是黑乎乎的。
就是要什么？要熟
手，然后这个感觉感觉差不多干爽的时候才能搓。
She was saying that you cannot roll the tea yet because right now it's actually the tea is not hot enough. So if you roll the tea now, it's going to lose color. You want to make sure when the tea is actually burning, that's when you want to roll the tea.
你湿的时候搓的，它就成一个结疤，结成了一个疤，然后呢你就抖也抖不散，然后你这样搓的话呢，它就会那个散的。然后你搓条的时候一直往前赶，一只手往前面赶，看到没有？然后这样才会是散。所以一只手不要去动它，就一只手搓。
Okay. So she was saying actually only one hand has the action. You want to push the tea forward. You cannot roll the tea like with both hands, but with one hand pushing the tea forward. That's the technique.
然后这样。
It's so hot. I'm worried I'm gonna burn my clothes. It's pretty cold here, by the way. That's why I'm wearing so many layers. And I hope you can tell now the hand gesture has changed. Now they basically use one hand to receive the tea and the other hand. So basically kind of like clapping the tea between your palms. And now it not only loosens up the tea, but actually flattens the tea as well. I mean straightening the tea. This tea breaking up process is not as easy as it looks. I've tried it before. See, it's like even when they're doing something else, you cannot leave your hand from the wall. Now this batch of tea is almost done. So it's a little different hand gesture. Now all traditional green tea kind of all hand stir fried. It's very, very hard. Just imagine this wok is super hot and you stir frying with your bare hand. Thinking about just stir frying the like vegetable with your bare hand is pretty difficult. spread it out evenly and thinly. Now the fresh tea floats onto the lowest level where the temperature is the highest, but after a little while they're going to switch it up. Now this tea doesn't go for into the oven for very long. It's very similar to cold whey. It just needs to basically depends on the temperature, but it's a matter of 10-20 minutes. So here I want to show you how the Lu Shan is done in the facilities. It's actually quite sophisticated. As you can see that this is the pure grain machine, shacking tea, right? This is where you stir fry the tea. It's a little longer and narrow than other machines, which is pretty beneficial. Basically means that the tea gets stir fried for a little longer time, but a smaller batch. And when it comes out, again, the butt is a little heavier, so it falls right onto the tray here. And then the drier leaves gets to be on the ground, and then there are going to be some kind of sweeping up the oat leaves, and then it gets to collected on the oat leaf tree. And we already know that this is not tea, even though many people sell this as tea. Okay, this is not tea. It's a byproduct of tea. And then the next step is actually to roll tea. So this is the rolling machine right here. Again, this is machine-made tea. This facility also handmade tea, but for a lot of the more common lower-end tea, which is not even that lower-end because this location is pretty awesome. So this is a rolling machine. And for Lu Shan, what gives that sort of like wannabe spiral but sort of straight kind of shape is this. So afterwards, they also apply heat, and then so the rolling machine does not apply steam, but this machine, which you can see both in Huapian and in some of the machine making, they put it in this shaking machine where they also apply heat, and it comes out to be. So this is already tea. Basically, we just need the last step to dry the tea before we can preserve it. But if you want, you can already drink this tea. This is already tea. That's what gives that kind of semi-spiral but kind of strip shape. So over here, I know this is not a super representative tea for all green teas, but I think I'll take this opportunity to show you how to tell quality of the tea by just looking at it. I mean, of course, it takes some in-depth knowledge to know exactly what categories of tea, like typically what's supposed to look like. But when I say that shapes are very telling, this is what I mean. Over here, we have a low mountain oat variety tea. Here, we have a low mountain. So this is low mountain. This is flatland new variety tea. Now this is white. The Anji white tea, the varietal, yeah, but it's made into Lu Shan fog tea, and you can see it's very tender green, very pretty looking. Usually these are kind of tea that's not good. And over here, this is a high mountain oat variety tea. Now, given the same tea season, you can see this one. If you take a closer look, you can see it has more of the white buzz. It's a little more tender than over here, which was picked a little later. Yeah, it's a little more dry looking. And over here, this is what you see a lot of people in the States are selling. This is tea dust. This is selling for 30 RMB a pound, or like half a kilo, so more than a pound for 30 RMB. So this is worthless, but just think about how many people sell this as a legit tea. But this is not tea. Well, just in case I didn't make it clear that the oat leaves, because the oat leaves I was using earlier, it's older. Now this is the little or the yellow leaves. Now this is the little more tender looking yellow leaves, and this one they actually stir fried. I think the whole batch of tea was probably stir fried for a little higher temperature. It's probably made by hand versus this is a machine. Now it'll fall off because it's more crispy. We see every tea region have tons and tons of yellow leaves. It's just a byproduct, natural byproduct of making tea. Malfung area, when they crush the tea, the bud will survive and this will not, and that's what comes off because it gets dried earlier, so it actually gives a quite strong aroma. It has that burnt taste, so many people probably sell this as a premium, heavily roasted, some kind of premium green tea in the States.